and welcome to the School to Industry webinars brought to you by GM-LEN, which is the Goulburn Murray Local Learning Education Network. Hello to everyone who's joined us live. Okay, I can just see that we have six attendees that have just jumped online with us. So good morning to you. Please make yourself familiar with the little toolbar at the bottom and the chat icon, and if you can type in to the chat bar your name and where you're from or what school you're from, that would be awesome, so we get a bit of an idea of who's listening. Also, welcome to anyone who is listening to this as a recording. We kicked off on Monday with this program. We've talked about engineering, technology, and today we're going to talk about science. So this week is National Careers Week, and we're celebrating STEAM. So that is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So we've thrown arts in there, and in this changing economy, in the coming years, some jobs will be lost, and automation is a big part of the future. New jobs will be created, and this is why the STEAM skills are very important. So there's employer demand for STEAM qualifications, and the skills are high and will continue to increase in the future. So there's many opportunities, and we're going to hear a lot about that today from our panellists, because they're all sitting either in Shepparton or in regional Victoria somewhere. So first of all, I'm Liz Connick. I'm the facilitator today, and I'm just going to go around the screen and introduce you to our panellists. So as I said, today we're focusing on science, and the students will be familiar with their science subjects being biology, chemistry, physics, psychology, environmental science. There might even be some others that are offered by certain schools, but they're probably your core subjects. So first of all, we have Noah Richardson. Thank you, Noah, for joining us. Noah is an agronomist from Legacy Packing in Cobram. They process a range of citrus varieties and stone fruit for domestic and international market. So I look forward to hearing about your role as an agronomist, Noah. Thanks for joining us. I've got Chris Pritchard, who is a technical supervisor in the chemical laboratory at Thales Group Australian Munitions. So good morning, Chris. Thales Group serve our Defence Force security and transport market in Australia, and this includes ammunition, military weapons, equipment, and I'm sure much more. We also have Nicole Barber. Good morning, Nicole. Nicole is a research and development coordinator from the Thales Group as well. So both Nicole and Chris Pritchard are located in the Yarrawonga Mulwala area. So there are, I think, 3,000 employees across the Thales Group throughout Australia. I have had a couple of other panellists on from your group, so it's really interesting to hear from each of you and different departments. And then, of course, we've got Chris Banning. Chris, all dressed up for us today, and Chris is from Freedom Foods. He's the technical manager in nutritionals. Freedom Foods is located in Shepparton, and they focus on dairy products and production. So thank you all for joining us. So let's get into it. First of all, obviously our students who are sitting at school, well, not literally at school, but sitting at school today, I'm sure they're interested to know what steps you took to get from where they're sitting. So if you think back to your years in year 11 and year 12 to where you are now. So I'm going to start with you, Chris Pritchard. So if you could just briefly give us a summary of from how you've gotten to where you are now.
Yep. Look, I was always interested in science, so year 11, year 12, did biology, chemistry, physics subjects with the intent to go to university. I then went away to university and straight out I got sick of studying. So after a year, I threw the towel in and returned back to Yarrawonga and managed a bottle shop for a couple of years, and realised at that stage I was missing the science side of things. So a role came up in the laboratory here at Tallis, and I applied, luckily got the job. But then once I'd started, I realised I needed some further education if I was going to make my way up through the ranks. So I, with the help of work, I then went through and did an advanced diploma in laboratory science through TAFE. And that is basically my qualification. That all being 30 odd years ago.
Great. I'm sure there's lots of students out there that do, obviously it's a pretty full-on year 11, year 12 year, and they do get to the end and they go, you know what, I just need a break from the study, and yet there's others that just can't wait to get their degree started and head straight to university. So Noah, what was your journey to get to where you are now?
So when I was in school in year 12, I had pretty much no idea what I was going to do. What I did know was that I really enjoyed plant science and soil science and working with plants. So I made the decision to study a Bachelor of Agriculture with Melbourne Uni. And through that, you can go into the major of plant and soil science. And so from doing that, the last two to 3 years, I've now been offered this job for this company, the broader company that Legacy Packing's part of, and it's been great so far. Just brings together everything I was really interested in and wanted to work with.
Great, excellent. You've obviously found your passion, and that is obviously working. Are you working inside a lot or outside? Is it?
It is a very big mix. So today I'm here in Cobram, which is we have a rented office space here. And a lot of the other days I'll be in Berrigan across the border where the orchards are. And I'll be outside a lot more.
Yes, excellent. Okay, Nicole, I'll cross to you. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, like Chris, I was doing the science subjects at school, chemistry, biology, physics, that sort of thing, basically just because they were easier for me to understand. I didn't really connect with the other kinds of subjects. So after that, I went into a Bachelor of Science. I did my 4-year degree in chemistry. After that, I kind of mulled around a bit doing casual jobs in laboratories, analytical sort of stuff, wherever I could get it, before I joined a regional manufacturer in textiles. So an opportunity there. I stayed there for about 10 years. We were quality control basically for a textiles manufacturer. Career break at that point. I was probably out of the workforce for about 5 years-ish. And then I got an opportunity at Tallis, and I came to work at the laboratory for about a year, I think, before another opportunity came up. We're still within Tallis, and I jumped over into the product development. So yeah, that was my exciting opportunity, I guess, on that one. So that I moved into the product development on propellants and explosives and that kind of chemistry. So yeah.
Excellent. I must say it's great to have another female on board. The last couple of panels we have had over the last few days have been very male dominated, obviously, with the subjects that we've been covering. But I did ask one of our younger panelists, who was a postgrad engineer, on Monday, were the females coming through the ranks and studying engineering, and he said yes. He said at least 20% of his cohort were female, so it's great to get some diversity. Yeah. Okay, Chris Banning, so tell us about your journey, Chris.
Yeah, so my background, I'm originally from the UK, and I did most of my schooling there. Finished up the last couple of years in Melbourne and did science subjects, so chemistry and physics, with a double whack of maths in there as well. And then went over to Monash and studied chemical engineering and Spanish. And at the end of that, because you had to have industry experience to graduate. Worked for a dairy NPD company, so new product development and R&D, and got placed out to Bega Cheese in rural New South Wales. Did secondment with Bega and then got placed over to Tatura Milk. Worked 5 years working with infant formula and various other dairy products, and then I've been at Freedom Foods for the last 6 months.
Great. And how's the transition been from across to Freedom Foods?
It's been good, yeah. It's more hands-on, more of the engineering on this side, and at Bega it was probably more formulation science and food science.
Okay, all right. I'm going to stay with you, Chris. Can you tell us what a typical day looks like for you from you arrive at work?
Yeah, there probably isn't a typical day. That's probably why I enjoy my role as much as I do. Okay. It's a lot of problem solving. It's whatever you walk through and find at the time. And because we're still a greenfield site and this facility is only 12, 18 months old, we're still doing a lot of commissioning. We're still installing a lot of new equipment, and it's around setting up the processes, setting up all the systems and creating the product for the first time. So we installed probably $2 to $3 million worth of kit about 2 months ago, and so it was a lot of fun seeing that all come in, working with European suppliers, and then dealing with them being stuck in Europe with COVID and having to do it ourselves. So yeah, a lot of hands-on experience.
Wow. Okay. So you got very technical there for that period of time then?
Yeah, had to pull out a lot of engineering books from uni that I didn't miss, but it was okay.
That's great. Yeah, excellent. What a challenge. That's a great challenge. And what about you, Noah? Tell us what's a typical day like for Noah?
Yeah, mine changes a lot. Some days I've been just here at the office, which might be maybe researching things that we want to do, maybe the best way forward. Other days in the orchard, I might be doing things like monitoring, fruit counting and sizing, or helping the guys there if they need anything. I'm happy to do that. Other than that, because I'm pretty new, there's been some driving around to see other places, meet other people we work with, or see the packing shed and meet other members of the company. Yeah.
So is there a bit of knowledge sharing going on within the industry?
Yeah, definitely. There's people we work with outside of our company, and even other growers that give us some help, some consultancy.
Yeah, great. Excellent. Okay, Nicole, what's your typical day look like?
Like Chris, I don't have a typical day either. Generally catch up with my team first thing in the morning though, as to what they're going to be working on. But daily tasks can be anything from analysing data to preparing reports, researching new ideas. We also provide a lot of support to our manufacturing environment, so a lot of problem solving there as well. When that comes up, it's not every day, but yeah, it's certainly a lot of variety.
Yeah, great. Excellent. Sounds like variety is something that you all enjoy. What about you, Chris? What's your typical day look like?
Yeah, a little bit similar. As a supervisor of half a dozen staff, making sure they're on track for what they need to be doing. They've got their priorities for the day, what they need to be working on. Similar to Nicole, if there's reports to be put out, organising those. And every now and again you'll get something left of centre. Nicole and her team come up with something and send it in, and we work our way through that. So it's a good mix.
Yeah, great. What do you, Chris, I'll stick with you. What do you enjoy most about your job?
I think it is that, the variety and the occasional unknown that comes in. Most of the majority of the testing we do, we receive samples in. We know roughly what sort of results we should be getting. But every now and again there'll be something left of centre, or as I said, something the R&D guys are working on that provides a little bit of a challenge, and so it's that variety, I think, that's the good part of it.
Yeah. Noah, you were saying that you spend some time obviously indoors researching. Is that something that you really like about your job, or what is the thing that really ticks your box?
Yeah, I do like that part of it. I like, well, a lot of it is seeing what's out there, what's been done, what new things are coming up, and we can try implement and see how they work for us. But other parts that I really enjoy is the problem solving that comes up constantly, especially around, well, anything to do with farming, growing. There's constant problems, things not working. So that's always there to do. And there's a lot of room to play and experiment, especially apple orchards, because there's a lot of trees. So if you want to try something different on one, that's no harm done.
Oh, great. Excellent. So that you do have a bit of freedom to experiment in a way.
Yeah. If there's something new, we can try on a very small scale. There's no issue.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So Nicole, what's
The only thing I would add to that is that when an innovative new idea or a problem solution actually works, that's awesome.
that really ticks your day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. And Chris, other than having to drag out the old books, what do you enjoy most about your role at the moment?
I actually really enjoy the new product development side. So I suppose I get involved with the consumer-facing side. We have our marketing teams in Sydney, and being able to see some of those products that come out. So we recently launched a blend of Manuka honey and like a dairy whey protein for immune health. So getting involved in that kind of pharmaceutical pseudoscience, the pharmaceutical science, has been interesting.
Great. So it sounds like you all sort of have the opportunity to move into or focus on different areas when you need to. You can sort of reposition yourself and get into something new and something that's a bit exciting and makes your role worthwhile. Was there, I'm going to ask, I'll go around the screen again. I'll start with you, Chris Pritchard. Was there a pivotal moment for you along your journey, an opportunity that you just jumped at, or something that really shook you up and said, right, yeah, I've got to take this or go in a different direction?
Yeah, I think it was after leaving university and working at the bottle shop for a couple of years. While it was good while I was there, and I enjoyed it, I realised then that I really did miss that science side of things. And I was probably lucky that the job came up here at Tallis and got it. But then once I was here, being able to then go away and do that additional study through the TAFE, that cemented what I knew. That's what I wanted to do.
Is that something that you put across in your interview and your application? Obviously, they would have been looking at you saying, "Oh, he's left university, he's now working in a bottle shop."
Yeah, and it was. That I was keen and interested in science, and I was willing to now take that extra step. That it was something I was missing.
Yeah, great. And obviously, you were able to express that, and that worked well for you, because that's where you are now.
Yeah,
Excellent. Yeah, I hear from a lot of employees that they will employ for attitude, because skills and training can always come. But if someone has a great attitude and is very passionate about, hey, wanting to work at that company or can see themselves in that role, a lot of employers will employ for attitude, which I think something is our country kids. They're very grounded.
I look doing the interviews for roles here at the laboratory myself. I see that we get a lot of applicants with degrees, double degrees, who are potentially overqualified for some of the roles that we offer, but looking to get their foot in the door. But for someone that's well-grounded, has a little bit of life experience, worked elsewhere, got a good feel for health and safety, which obviously in our industry is critical. That's as good as having a degree, simply because, as you're saying, a lot of these things that we do here on site, we put the effort to train people. They can do further schooling, etc., while they're here. So the degree for us isn't the be-all and end-all on our side of things. But a common sense goes a long way.
Yeah, I think so too. So Chris Banning, you moved out from the UK. I'm thinking that could have been a big move for you, a pivotal moment in your career, or was there another time when you think, righty, I'm jumping at this opportunity, or this?
It was probably almost an opportunity lost for me that was pivotal. So I mentioned that when I was studying engineering, you had to have that 3-month placement in industry before you could graduate, and so you're going through the process in your final years to try and apply for all these companies. And on my cover letter, I'd put that I had a passion for environmental sciences and sustainability. And when it came down to the dairy industry, they had a list of about a dozen projects that they were allocating to applicants, and I'd originally been written off because most of the projects were around heavy engineering rather than the environmental sciences, and so I got given a rejection and started looking elsewhere, and then a week later one more project came through the door on environmental sciences, and I got a call back, and that was probably the point where suddenly it all flipped, and otherwise I could have gone down the pharmacy route or something else completely different, I think.
Oh, great. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that with us. What about you, Nicole?
My career-changing moment, or I guess would have been when I re-entered the workforce. I had that first year at Tallis. I was working in the lab. It was a bridging role, I guess, for me. But an opportunity came up with a product development team, and it was advertised internally, but I'd never done anything like that before, ever. It's like, oh, well, I might as well apply for it, just see what happens.
Yeah.
And before you know it, 9 years later, I'm still there.
Great. So, yeah, you jumped at it.
I jumped at it, yeah. Opportunities don't always come up, but when they do, I guess you just have to jump at them when you can.
Have a bit of leap of faith. So, so Noah, was there a challenging or pivotal moment for you?
A pivotal moment for me would be starting the job I'm in right now. It's at the very beginning of my professional career. So it's a great deal of change, really, to go from a student a few months ago to now working full time.
Yeah. And what do you find challenging about that? Have you moved location from where you previously lived to this role?
Yeah. I'm from Wangaratta originally. That's where my family is. And before I was here, I was living in Melbourne as well. So I've moved around a bit recently, and that comes with its challenges. And then just adjusting to working life.
Yeah, great. And have you been able to, do you play sport? Have you able to be involved in the community at all, or sort of, do you socialise outside of work as a young person? I think that's pretty important to, if you've moved to a new area, how did you settle in?
Yeah, well, luckily enough, I still have a fair few friends that are in the area, kind of closer to Shepparton, but not too far to drive. In terms of sport, I'm not sure what's running now, actually.
Yeah,
I haven't really looked into it yet.
Yeah, everyone rushed out and bought home gym equipment, I think, something like that. But you can still get out and run and do all those sorts of things. So, okay, so excellent. I want to ask a question about how you applied some of your science knowledge and skills that you learnt at school to your job. So I'll stick with you, Noah, because you're on a bit of a roll. You tell us about that, and tell the students about that. I can see there's we've got 10 attendees here at the moment. So if any of the attendees have a question for our panelists, just type it into the chat bar, and I'll keep checking back and forth. So we'll possibly have a little bit of time at the end, but anyway, we'll get back to you, Noah. So yeah, how did you apply your science knowledge from what you learned at school to your job?
I think it comes up daily in everything really. There's a lot of biology, of course. You're talking about plant growth. And then chemistry and physics get mixed in a lot with the plant growth and plant nutrition and soil management. So it comes up daily, and even things I learned back in high school, like you guys will be now, your chemistry class and physics and biology. It's all important. Pay attention.
Well, the teachers will be glad to hear that. Yeah, excellent. What about you, Chris Banning?
So most of the work that I do around it's a dairy protein called lactoferrin, and it's used in infant formula and pharmaceuticals and cosmetics, veterinary products. You can use it in a huge amount of instances, but because I'm doing so much research on it, pulling out stuff around stoichiometry and ionic interactions versus hydrophobic interactions and all the different bonds that are going on. Yeah, at times it can be a little bit painful trying to recall that after 10 years, but it's a lot of fun as well. Really enjoy that side of things, and trying to get involved in the lab that we have here. So we've got a specialized protein laboratory. So they've got HPLC and FPLC and a lot of specialized lab equipment, which is probably something I read in a textbook when I was looking at VCE chemistry. But even when I was at Monash, I don't think I got the opportunity to actually utilize it in a laboratory. So it's been a lot of fun.
Excellent. Great. And what about you, Nicole? I mean, obviously you had a little break in your career, but yeah.
Yeah, designing new chemical products. I mean, the chemistry is going to be a big one. But we also do, with the problem solving with production, design of experiments with variables, trying to control one variable at a time rather than everything, which is what sometimes they want to do. What else? Looking at new ingredients and new ideas coming through, whether they're going to interact on a chemical level, that kind of thing.
Yeah, great. And Chris Pritchard.
Yeah, look, mostly chemistry. We have some fairly set procedures in the way we do things in the laboratory, and a lot of that chemistry has already been worked through and is there on display for the guys doing the testing. But as Nicole said, troubleshooting is probably where we use some of the techniques from school the most, where you're troubleshooting and only trying to change one parameter at a time and things like that.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm guessing too, and I say I'm guessing because it's been a long time since I've been at school, but I do have a 21-year-old who's at university and an 18-year-old daughter who's just finished VCE. And there were a few assignments that they did in groups. So yeah, very much around problem solving and working with others and getting the experience of working with other people in that group environment, obviously towards a main aim. So I'm guessing that would be something also that would be, obviously group assignments are probably not everyone's, best way of going about it, but I'm sure they have their, the plus side as well. So I wanted to also just get from you if there's any tips or advice that you would give to our young people today as they obviously maybe working through their senior years of school, looking at when they go to university, they take a gap year, or even just narrowing down their choices. So Chris Spanning, do you have any tips for our young people?
Mine would probably just be talking to the adults that you're around and your friends that have already gone to university about what they're enjoying at the moment. For me, I had a chemistry teacher in year 12 that was a chemical engineer. He'd gone semi-retired and decided to do a couple of days of teaching. So he was doing VCE Chem. and I was probably always around the science area, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to do architecture or engineering or something else. And it was probably the chemistry from VCE and discussions with him. That's what set me off down that path. I think networking is hugely important, and a lot of the opportunities you'll find will be from people that you've met in life rather than necessarily the qualifications that you make.
Yeah, great. Excellent. I can just see the GM Len girls have put a quick poll up. So if those attendees want to answer that poll, that'd be great. And I've got a question here as well. Is it mainly chemical science that is used in these jobs? So Chris Spanning, I'll stay with you.
Sure.
Chemical science, is that one of the...
Chemistry is definitely important. For me, probably my weakness in my role, which I'm trying to learn at the moment, is microbiology, which I never got the opportunity to study at uni because I was doing engineering, didn't take bio at VCE, so picking up a lot of information around that is really important. I do a lot of fluid mechanics, physics as well, Reynolds numbers, laminar flow, turbulent flow, so it's not just chemistry. I think all of them are equally important. Can't really say I use psychology in the plant, probably more in my team, but that's more about motivating them and keeping them interested rather than getting the product out the other end.
Yeah, so Noah, chemical science, is that something that you use a lot in your job?
The chemical sciences comes up a lot. I'd say it's largely biological sciences when it comes to plant science.
Yeah. All right. And I'm going to ask Nicole and Chris from Talus, because obviously there could be some products or things they produce or manufacture in that group. Chris, is chemical science something that's a priority or?
It's probably the priority for us here in the laboratory. We do have an environmental group on site, so they obviously focus more on the biological side of things and dabble in the chemistry of that as well. But certainly where we are here in the main testing laboratory, it's primarily chemistry.
Yeah, great. Would you agree with that, Nicole?
Yeah. I'll just also add though that there's also opportunities for engineers. We've had chemical engineers in my team. We had a mechanical engineer a couple of years ago. He moved on to something else. Mm-hmm. Engineering positions are generally coming up around the facility quite a lot.
Yeah.
And the opportunities at Benalla are slightly different with a focus on metallurgy and that kind of.
Yeah, thank you. I hope that answered the question for that person. And any other questions, just send them through. I was going to ask you what you think the future looks like. It's a big one and probably a tricky one at the moment, considering the pandemic and the environment that we're in. But if we could maybe get above that. So Chris Pritchard, what do you think the future looks like for young people interested in science?
Yeah, look, I think if anything, the roles are potentially going to expand there, particularly for anybody who is keenly interested in some of the instrumental techniques. Certainly when I started, we had a lot of just straight titrations, wet chemistry type analysis, which we still have in place, but certainly in recent years, we've tried to transfer a lot of our work across to instrumental analysis, both for better accuracy and faster throughput. So anything along those lines is certainly worthwhile.
Yeah, great. Nicole, what do you think the future looks like for our young people?
Oh, goodness. I think problem solving and analytical skills are always going to have a place. The shape of the role might be different. It might be a lot more high tech in the future than what it is now, but the ability to actually think and solve a problem is going to be the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, a whole lot more data and analytical ability maybe.
And I think too that's for those who are probably a little bit like me, I'm probably not the strongest thinker in this area. I'm more of a process driven person. But yeah, logically thinking, but all the research and data that we've all had to absorb since we've been in this COVID-19 environment has probably, well, we all know a lot of decisions are being based on that. So that's obviously a real strength in that field, looking at the research, drilling down into the data, and obviously, yeah, problem solving and helping make the decisions and how we've been able to move forward, or how the people obviously in our government have been able to make some decisions on how to move forward. So Chris Banning, what do you think the future holds for our young people? You're still in the young category, I think.
Yeah, hopefully. I can't see it slowing down in terms of science. Like, it seems to be speeding up, if anything. I think you're going to see certain things change and certain priorities move one way or the other. But as a whole, I'd see science blossoming, and it's just going to continue to give opportunities for people young and old, to be honest. There'll be people who were in the car industry who've been in there for 40 odd years, and that's closed down recently, and they'll find alternatives in other opportunities now. So I think I wouldn't be worried about going into science, honestly.
Yeah, it does sound like there's a lot of opportunities, and obviously from big companies that you work for down to legacy packaging, where Noah sits, and obviously new to his role. Now, Noah, are you muted? Can you talk to us? Yeah, now we've got you. Yeah.
I'm just going to move rooms because it's a little bit noisy.
Yeah, I'll ask you this one question, and then if you've got to move rooms, or if not, we can. We're pretty much getting through the questions anyway. So, what do you think the future is for obviously the next generation coming through pretty much straight after you? And you're obviously working for a smaller group, a smaller company compared to our other panellists today. But what are your thoughts?
Well, as everyone else has said, it's not slowing down, for sure. Careers in science have always been important, I think. Research has always been important. And there's always going to be a million challenges, enormous things like climate change that we see now, especially when I'm working in agriculture. Anything to do with land management is very important, and always going to need young people to come through who are skilled and ready to make a change and that kind of thing.
Do you see more opportunities for, like, obviously companies that have been set up like Legacy in Cobram? Do you see more of that happening? Do you see more companies setting up in regional Victoria and providing opportunities for young people?
Yeah, I'd say so. Legacy is part of a bigger company, Agriculture Capital, which is from America, so multinational. And I'd say in this industry, it's definitely a trend of large companies setting up in regional areas, and they do offer a lot of opportunities and do really improve an industry.
Yeah.
I think that'll continue.
All right. So one last question. What's one bit of advice you'd give yourself if you were to go back about 3 or 4 years?
3 or 4. I don't know. I wouldn't do it differently. I'm happy where I am.
Great.
I don't know, maybe do better in your first year of uni.
Okay. Did you have too much fun?
Yeah. Well, you can't have too much fun, but I had fun.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So Chris Banning, what's a bit of advice you'd give your younger self?
Just don't be afraid to throw yourself out there and go for an opportunity that you maybe don't think you suit. I know for myself personally, there was an opportunity at Tatura where the position said you required 2 years experience, and I had about 6 months. And so I said, no, I won't do it. And over the course of a 2-week period, I had 3 or 4 people across the site, including the site manager, asked me if I was going to go. And so that was probably enough of a hint that maybe I should have applied for it, so ultimately went for it. But I think I heard somewhere, if you've got 5 points that you need on a position, and if a guy sees 2 of them that he meets, he'll throw his application out there, whereas heard that women will typically want at least 4. And I think it doesn't matter. Just throw your name out there. You're not going to get considered otherwise. And I think it's a huge amount of opportunities are lost because people try to tick off all 5 criteria. Those are perfect candidates that people put out there on those positions, and often that person doesn't exist.
That's some really great advice. Nicole, what advice would you give yourself?
Someone told me when I was back at uni that where you start is not always where you end up, and I can't believe it's actually true. So yeah, I wouldn't have dreamed that I'd be where I am now when I was at uni. So just got to, roles can grow and change, opportunities come up, just got to be flexible, learn what you can where you are, and be open to opportunity.
Fantastic. And Chris Pritchard, I'm going to finish with you. What advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah, definitely. I'm following exactly what Chris Banning was saying. If you're interested, throw your name in the hat. Take yourself out of your comfort zone and just have a go at it. The worst that can happen is they say no. So certainly in the laboratory here, we've got geologists, environmental scientists, people with chemistry degrees. We've got a geneticist, people that have wanted a change from perhaps what they studied, put their hat in the ring, and here they are, and many of them have been here for quite a few years and coping quite well. So it's don't be afraid to get out there and put your name in the hat, and you never know what'll come from it.
Yeah, excellent. That's great advice from all of you. I can't see, I'll just give our, there's a quick poll that's just jumped up, so if our attendees can answer that for us, that'd be great.
Just say one thing, Liz.
Yes.
I'd say if the last couple of months has shown us anything and how quickly everyone's adapted to working and studying from home and all the changes, it will show you how quickly you can adapt to challenges and opportunities at the workforce that you don't think you're necessarily inclined to do.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think there's been lots of employers where employees have maybe said to their boss or manager, hey, can I work from home? And they probably haven't been able to see how it could happen. But we've had to do it. We've had to adapt really quickly. Some people adapt to change a lot easier than others. And I think we've just had to, jump in 2 feet. I think everyone had to jump in, and we were, all in it together, I suppose, is the slogan that they've been putting across the media, isn't it? And so great to see so many amazing professors and scientists and people who are, that you don't normally see, come to the forefront and go, wow, these people are incredible and look what they're doing. And obviously to come up with a vaccine, it's going to be a huge task, but imagine the thrill for those groups of scientists who have got the opportunity and they've had the resources thrown at them, because normally they probably wouldn't. They'd be struggling for funding or resources, but they've had the resources thrown at them to say, rightio, here's your challenge, go for it. So I hope I hope they're sharing knowledge around the world, because I know there's a number of different countries working on COVID and working on a vaccine in many different laboratories. So, I think there's great. I think due to the pandemic, it has shown that there are many, many opportunities. So, well done to you all. I think you all do an amazing job. You all contribute to our world, our place in which we live, from stone fruit through to dairy products to I know at Tallis you might do some secret munitions business there, but obviously you keep us safe, and there's the security aspect to that. So thank you all for sharing. Has anyone got anything else they'd like to share with our students before we wrap it up? No? Okay. Yeah.
I think the last point you touched on, don't be afraid of change, because unlike quite a few of our other panellists, I've been in this same job for 30 plus years, and what I was doing 30 years ago is so different to what I do now, that whatever industry you go into, in 10 years time, that will have changed.
Yeah.
There'll be force changes and production changes, product changes, all of these sorts of things. So one, don't be afraid of change, and don't not have a crack at something just because you don't think it'll fit you now.
Excellent. Yeah, no, thank you. Okay, so to our attendees, thank you for joining us today. Tell your fellow students that we're going to be continuing with these webinars every day from 10:30 till 11:30. I believe tomorrow we're focusing on mathematics, and then Friday is going to be arts. And then there'll be more to come after that. So if you step away from the screen and have any questions that you'd like to put to our panellists, by all means, send them into GM Len. I wonder if the girls in the background could type in the email address that they could send them to if they have any questions. That would help me out. If not, please talk to your career advisors. Talk to your teachers. That was some really great advice, Chris. They've obviously got many years of experience and teaching students and teaching the subject. So, great. Thank you all very, very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for sharing. I'm sure our young people have been very interested. I said they've all stayed online, so it's great. So thank you. And who knows where your face might pop up next time.